Your mind is either your greatest prison or your greatest power. This is Think and Grow Forever. I am Toya D, and this is a space where we break the chains of the mind, we reclaim our identity, and we build the life we were always meant to live. Everything I teach here is built on one truth: master yourself, free your mind, and prosper forever. Now, let's get into today's message. There's a word that has been coming up more and more in conversations about women and their personal power. And that word is sovereignty. And most people hear it and think it means independence. They think it means self-sufficiency, not needing anyone. But that is not what sovereignty is. Not really, because sovereignty is something more and way deeper and more radical than just independence. It is full ownership of your inner world. It's the reclamation of your own authority over who you are, what you think, what you feel, what you choose, what you want to allow in your life. So today, we are going to go deep on what it actually means to be a sovereign woman. Because it's not just a concept, it's not just an aesthetic, but it's as a lived, embodied, daily practice of self-leadership that changes everything. It changes your relationships, your work, your sense of self, your experience of being alive. So here's the truth that most conversation about female empowerment misses. You cannot become sovereign from the outside in. You cannot get there through achievement, through accumulating enough success, through finally earning the validation of the right people, through arriving at some external milestone that grants you permission to feel powerful in your own life. Sovereignty is an inside job, and that's it. It's a decision. And it's a decision that most women have never allowed themselves to make. Because here's where most women have been taught. Most of us have been taught consciously or unconsciously from time that we was born that our worth is relational. That is determined by how well we take care of others, how agreeable that we are, how beautiful that we are, how useful that we are to people around us, that their identity lives in roles. Our identity of being daughters, mothers, partners, employees. Then when you think of wanting things for yourself, they tell you it's selfish. When you take up space, that's arrogance. That knowing that your own worth without external confirmation is somehow dangerous for you. Sovereignty dismantles all of that, not by rejecting relationship or roles, but by refusing to let them be the source of your sense of self. A sovereign woman has relationship. She has roles. She serves. She loves. She contributes. But she does allow it from a place of fullness rather than a place of depletion. From choice rather than obligation. From her center rather than from fear of what happens when she stops doing it. Now let's talk about the 4 Th's of sovereignty. Most of us did not lose our sovereignty all at once. Most of you, it was taken gradually. It was taken gradually by 4 forces that operated so consistently, so quietly, that it felt natural to you. It felt like that just was the way of things. So the first thief was conditioning. From childhood, most of you were conditioned to be agreeable, to manage other people's emotions before your own, to make yourself feel small in rooms so you won't make others feel uncomfortable, to apologize for taking up space, to earn love through performance rather than receive it through simply being. That conditioning did not just shape your behavior, it really shaped your identity. It made you feel smallness. It made you feel like that smallness was safety for you. And that safety felt like a goal for you. So the second thief was trauma. Every significant wound Every betrayal, every abandonment, violation of experience or powerlessness, it chips away at your sense of sovereignty. Because trauma teaches the nervous system, it teaches that the world is not safe for your full self. That being is seen as dangerous, that wanting leads to loss, that your needs will not be met. And a woman whose nervous system has learned those lessons will continuously and unconsciously organize her entire life around minimizing the threat, which means minimizing yourself, not from weakness, from the deepest kind of self-protection. So the third thief was relationships that require self-abandonment. That doesn't work. Every relationship, romantic, family, professional, that require you to shrink, to silence yourself, to betray your own knowing in order for you to maintain connection, it takes a piece of your sovereignty. Not always through malice, but sometimes through the simple dynamic that two people whose wounds fit together in a way that made your smallness feel like love. But that cost is so real and it's costly. Every time you abandon yourself to keep the peace, every time you swallow your truth, minimize your needs, perform a version of yourself that was acceptable to someone else, you move further away from your own center. So the fourth thief, cultural unworthiness. The broader cultural narrative that tells women they are perpetually not enough, not thin enough, not young enough. They even tell you not successful enough, not selfless enough, not ambitious enough, not even humble enough. That is an sovereignty thief operating at a high scale. Now, it keeps women in a constant state of self-improvement as self-rejection, always working towards a version of yourself that is finally acceptable. But you never arriving because they keep moving the goalposts. And women who are always trying to become acceptable is a woman who has not yet claimed the radical truth that she is already her, that she is it. So what is a sovereign woman and what is not a sovereign woman? And I want to be very specific about this because the concept of a sovereign woman gets distorted. It gets turned into something hard, cold, isolated. And that's not what it is for me. A sovereign woman is not a woman who does not need anyone. She's a woman who chooses consciously rather than attaching desperately. She loves deeply from wholeness, not from hunger. A sovereign woman is not a woman who has no emotion. She's a woman who has developed the capacity to feel everything without being governed by it. She does not suppress. She does not perform. She moves through her full emotion spectrum with presence and with skill. A sovereign woman is not a woman who has it all together. She is a woman who has a grounded relationship with her own imperfections, who can be in the process without being shamed, who can be a work in progress and still hold on to her own worth as constant. A sovereign woman is not a woman who never struggles. She's a woman who identity does not collapse under the weight of the struggle, whose sense of self holds even when circumstances do not. A sovereign woman is not a woman who is always certain. She's a woman who has learned to trust herself even in the uncertainty, who can move without all the answers because her relationship with her inner knowing is strong enough to navigate the unknown. But most importantly, a sovereign woman is not a destination. She is a practice. She is the ongoing, daily, sometimes unglamorous commitment to choosing herself, to returning to her own center when it drifts, to honoring her own truth even when it's inconvenient, to leading her life from the inside out. The 7 pillars of sovereignty. Sovereignty is not one thing. It's a collection of inner capacities, each one building on the other. Now, that together creates the foundation of a woman who leads her life from her own authority. Here are the 7 pillars. Self-knowledge is the first pillar. A sovereign woman knows herself, not the performed version of herself, not the mascot version of herself, not the version she shows the world, but her true self, her authentic self. She has done enough inner work to know her values, her wounds, her patterns, her gifts, her triggers, and her desires. She is not afraid of what she finds when she looks inside. She has made peace with her full humanity. And that self-knowledge is the source of everything else, because you cannot lead what you do not know. Second, we have self-trust. A sovereign woman trusts herself, not because she is always right, but because she has built a track record of honoring her own word, following her own knowing, and returning to herself when she drifts. Self-trust is not arrogance at all. It is the earned confidence that comes from consistently self-honoring yourself. And it's the quality that makes external validation, it's unnecessary. Because when you trust yourself deeply, you stop needing the room to confirm what you already know. So, emotional sovereignty, that's pillar 3. A sovereign woman who owns her emotional experiences. She does not outsource her emotional state to other people's behavior. She don't make her peace conjugative on circumstances going the way she wanted it to go. She has developed the inner infrastructure to regulate herself, to move through difficult emotions, to choose her response rather than react from her wound. This does not mean she is unaffected by life. It means she is not at the mercy of it. Now, the boundaries of self-expression, that's the 4th pillar. For a sovereign woman, boundaries are not walls she builds to keep people out. They are the expression of her values, of her needs, of her truth. They are how she communicates who she is and what she stands for. She does not apologize for them. She does not over-explain them. She does not wait for permission to hold them. As well, she understands that a boundary held with love is one of the highest acts of self-respect available to her. When you have self-defined worth, that's the 5th pillar. A sovereign woman's worth is not on the market. It is not available for negotiation. It's not something she earns through achievement, through beauty, through usefulness, through being enough of the right things for the right people. It's intrinsic. It's constant. It's non-negotiable. She knows this is not a concept, but it's as a lived reality because she has done enough inner work to release the conditioning that had made her worth feel conditional in the first place. When you have aligned action, that's pillar 6. A sovereign woman moves from alignment rather than from obligation, rather from fear, rather than from external pressure. She acts not just what needs to be done, rather doing it if it's true to who she is and where she is going. She has learned to distinguish between the pull of genuine calling, the push of people pleasing, between inspired action and anxious doing. And she has developed the discernment to say no to what is not hers, so that she has the full capacity for what is for her. So the 7th pillar, expansion of identity. As a sovereign woman understands that growth is not something that happens to her. It is something that she chooses consistently as a fundamental expression of who she is. She does not shrink to fit in spaces that were built for smaller versions of herself. She does not wait for permission to become more. She leads herself forward into discomfort, into the unknown, into the version of herself that she has not fully embodied yet. because she knows that expansion is not the exception of her life. It is the point of it. A sovereign woman and her relationships. So I want to spend a moment here because I think one of the biggest fears women have around sovereignty is that it will cost them their relationships. That becoming more of themselves will make it harder for them to love. That claiming their power will push people away. So here's the truth about that. Sovereignty does not destroy a good relationship. It ends them. Incompatible ones. And it transforms the ones that are real. When you stop abandoning yourself to keep the peace, when you show up as your full, honest, boundary, self-possessed version of who you are, some relationships will not survive that. Now, it's not because you became too much, but it's because that you were built on a version of you that was too small, and that is not loss. That is liberation. The relationships that are real, the ones built on genuine sin, genuine respect, genuine love, those relationships do not just survive your sovereignty. They deepen because of it, because now you are actually there. You're fully present. You're not performing anymore. You're not managing everything anymore. What you say, what you think, how you dress. You're not disappearing into a role. You're just there as yourself. And that is the most intimate thing a woman can offer another person. So how to begin to claim your sovereignty? Sovereignty is not claiming a single moment, really. It's built through practice, and it takes a lot of practice, daily practice, through the accumulation of small daily decisions to choose yourself, to choose your truth, your needs, your knowing, over the condition that tells you to abandon yourself for comfort. So here's where you begin. You're going to begin with self-witnessing, being aware of yourself. Before you can lead yourself, you have to know yourself. Let me say this again. Before you can lead yourself, you have to know yourself. Spend time in honest self-inquiry, not to fix what you find out about yourself, just to see it clearly. You can journal about it. You can reflect on it. You can ask yourself the hard questions. That's how you get the right answers. What do I actually want? Now you got to separate from what I think I should want. Where am I currently abandoning myself? Where am I making myself feel small? Where am I outsourcing my worth? The answer to those questions are the map. Begin with one boundary. You do not have to overhaul your entire life at once now. Find one place where you have been abandoning yourself. You can look at one relationship or one dynamic, one recurring situation, and practice holding your truth there just once. Then do it again. Sovereignty is built one honored boundary at a time. Begin with your inner dialogue. How do you talk to yourself? What do you say to yourself? The way you speak to yourself is the first and most fundamental act of sovereignty. A woman who speaks to herself with contempt and criticism is not yet sovereign in her own inner world. So you can start there. Build that inner voice of a woman who's on her own side, constantly, unapologetically. That inner shift becomes that foundation for you, for every outer shift that will follow. Begin with reclaiming your desires. Sovereignty requires knowing what you want. You have to know what you want, not what is acceptable to want, not what is safe to want, but what you actually, genuinely, deeply want for yourself, for your life. Give yourself permission to know that, to say it, to write it down. Because a woman who has claimed her desires has done something radical in the world that has told her for a very long time that wanting things for herself is a problem. A sovereign woman is not a myth, it's not a fantasy. She is not reserved for women who has had the perfect upbringing or the perfect circumstances or the perfect foundation. She is available to every woman who's willing to do the work of coming home to her true self. She is available to you right here, right now, in this moment. Not when you have it all figured out. Not when you have healed every wound. Not when you have finally become enough. It's now. As you are right here, right now, with everything you have been through. Because everything you have been through helps you become that woman. That is what sovereignty is. The decision that you make over and over again in the small moments and in the big ones to live from your own center, to lead from your own authority, to be the author of your own life. And that decision, it starts today. So drop in the comments, what does sovereignty mean to you personally? What would you change in your life if you were living as a fully sovereign woman? I want to hear it. Share this with a woman who is ready to come home to herself. Subscribe if this is the work you are here for. And I will see you in the next one. Remember, true security and stability come from within, not outside of you. Everything you need is already there. You just have to do the work to access it. If this message moves something in you, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and drop a comment below telling me what chain are you ready to break. This is Think and Grow Forever with Toya D. I see you in the next one.